Okay, I'm excited today to talk about running your business like a business and finding your path to success. Now, there's a lot of things that I train on. I don't think there's anything I'm more excited about to train on than this subject. Now, let me first of all talk about how this training is a little bit different. This is done during a time of the COVID-19 virus. So we're doing this with an empty audience. So a lot of times I like to be engaging and ask questions and kind of get the audience involved in it. I can't do that today. But the good point of that is that it'll be a little bit shorter. The bad thing is I won't be able to draw off that energy. So I'm going to do my best, and this should be a good subject to talk on during this time because it's one that I have a great passion to talk about. So first of all, the goal of the trainings that we do, these weekly trainings, the goal is so that we can add to our potential as a real estate agent, to be better and better each and every time. So I want to start off with a slide, and this slide has a few key elements to it. First of all, you'll see it says 60% in 1980, 80% in 2010, and 90% in 2020. Now, when I usually ask the question about what does this represent, most people have no idea. They have no idea. But what this represents is first of all, the percentage of people that go into real estate that will fail within the first 5 years. Now, this article was written a few months ago by National Association of Realtors, but there's been many other articles along the way that have been very similar to this. So if you look at this, what this is telling us, if in 1980, 60% failed, and then in 2020, it's all the way up to 90% is their predictability for this year, how many will fail. And that has nothing to do with what's going on in the market right now. That's just predicted a couple of years ago. So imagine this, our business is getting tougher, not easier. But here's the good news. The good news is for those who do survive it, it's better than ever. So we're going to talk a lot about this. Okay, so that's what the numbers, kind of represent. Now, if we're going to find out what the percentage of failing, the most important question is, why are people failing? That's the most important question. And a great article written by Inman about a year ago really focused on 4 reasons why agents fail. And I think this is very, very important because once we find out where we fail, then we can reverse engineer that and make sure that we succeed. 4 areas. These areas were not in any specific order, so it wasn't as if one was more important than the other. These 4, kind of the formula for failure, if you want to call it that. So first of all, that people that would go into the business did not have enough savings. When you start most jobs, you get a paycheck 2 weeks out. But in real estate, you may not get a paycheck for 2 months or 6 months. And that doesn't really determine how successful you're going to be ultimately, but it does put a lot of panic in you. And by the way, the hardest time to sell is when you need to sell for money, okay? What that means is that the start of your career is the hardest time to sell. So, if we're talking about that, you can understand that you need savings in the bank, and most people underestimate that. Number 2 is because people focus on marketing and not lead generation, or I like to call it prospecting as well. So a lot of agents come in, I see this all the time, where they come in and they'll work on a month of making this perfect business card. But what they should be focusing on, and I'm not saying marketing isn't important at all, but it's not nearly as important as what lead generation is or prospecting is. So don't get those 2 switched up. We want to focus on lead generation, okay? Most of our time, a little bit of time on marketing. Third thing was, and I thought this was really a good one, and this is no mentor. In fact, here's the most common model we have right now in real estate. Teams have become very, very important, but most oftentimes the team leader is a top producing agent on their own. So they have really no time to mentor because all they're really trying to say is, hey, follow me and watch me and hopefully that'll be enough. But they don't really mentor. The other model is where there's one manager for 100+ people. And so that's one of the things that you'll find out is the greatest problem is they have no mentor. So a mentor is very, very important. When I meet with a new agent on our team, the thing I tell them is I give them a little story, and the story is one that I created, but it has truth to it. And that is that if you were to climb Mount Everest, and you can Google this and look up these odds, your success of making that is about 10% success ratio, about 10% if you do it on your own. However, If you hire a Sherpa, your chance of making it is about 80%. So you can tell the difference of making it at the top of Mount Everest is really a Sherpa. And very few people try it today without a Sherpa. Doesn't mean you don't need to be in good shape. Doesn't mean you don't need to do everything, just like in real estate. It doesn't mean the mentor will make you successful, but it gives you the greatest chance possible. We tell everybody when they come on our team that we will be your Sherpa. We're going to Sherpa you up Mount Everest. It's a tough place to get to, but when you get there, it's worth the hike. And so we're your Sherpa. That's the third thing. Now the fourth thing, and this is what we're really going to focus on today, and that is how to run your business like a business. The fourth reason people fail is they don't know how to run a business. Now, if you're good at business, then you'll be good at real estate, because real estate, you're in business for yourself. You're a private contractor. You don't work for somebody else in most cases, at least with traditional brokerages. Maybe with Redfin and some of the others, you actually kind of go to work for somebody and they feed you the business. But with traditional real estate, that I'm talking to the people in traditional real estate, you are in business for yourself and you need to run your business like a business. And today we're going to focus quite a bit on that. So Forbes states, now Forbes magazine, they're a pretty credible magazine, states that 8 out of 10 businesses fail. So real estate is not really any different than most businesses. 8 out of 10 businesses fail. In fact, there's an old saying in small businesses that your first day of business is one day closer to failure. Now, that's a little bit of a negative point of view, but just think about the businesses that you grew up with in your area, whether it's in Orange County or whether it's in Conejo Valley or Ventura or LA, and you look at that, the area that you grew up in, how many businesses are still there today? Most are not. Some are, but most are not. So again, we're going to talk about that. So we've kind of talked a lot about failing and everything but success. So let's turn this around right now. We're going to go into the next year, and now we're going to talk about how to succeed. That's the most important thing. So it's the old saying, you cannot achieve what you cannot perceive. So this is the lane we're going to get into now. The next thing I want to talk about is, first of all, laying a little foundation, and this is 2 types of businesses out there. There's 2 types. So one is going to be what's known as product-centric, and the other is service-centric. Now, let's say, for instance, that you are selling phones. If you're selling phones, you're selling an actual product, okay? You're selling a product. You know, Amazon, for instance, they sell products. Now, they're trying to get in the service industry. I'm not sure how successful they'll be, but they're a product-driven company. So let's say we sell phones. And let's say that, that one of these, that we sell iPhones or we can sell Samsung phones, okay? Let's just take that premise, but I'm gonna go just move over just a little bit and set up one thing first of all. And that is that we're in real estate, so we are what we consider service-centric. We're a service business, not a product business. Now, let's say that one person is selling iPhones and the other would be selling Samsung phones. Now, both are great phones. They're both great platforms, but the truth of it is, in today's environment, iPhones probably outsell Samsung's 2 or 3 to 1, which means that if you're selling iPhones, it's going to be a lot easier, and your success is going to be based on, a lot of your success might be based on the product that you represent. Here's the great thing about real estate. The greatest thing about real estate is that we all have the same product. The difference is us. The success is based on us. It's not based on, can we get with a company that has a good product and they will guarantee our success. Our success is guaranteed by us if we're good at what we do. That's one of the things I like about real estate. How good we're going to be and how successful we're going to be is based upon us, not the product. Okay, so we make the difference. So as you can see, we're service-centric. Now let's get into let's look about how we kind of go into business. And I think the best way to go into business is going into business just like we go into battle. Going into business is like going into battle. And the reason I say that is because business is like battle in that it takes preparation. There's an old saying that the battle is won before it starts with the preparation. And that's, to a great deal, that's the same thing in real estate as well. So just think of this. We're going into battle, not business. Not that it's brutal or anything like that, but I want you to think of that. So we know we must prepare. Preparing is very, very important. Now, after you prepare, here's the goal. We want to win the day. We start with winning the day. Then, after we win the days, a few days one is winning the week, and then we win the month, and by the end of that, we'll eventually win the year, and someday we'll have a super successful career. But it all starts with winning the day. Don't put it off that you're going to win tomorrow or the next day. You have to win the day today and every day. That's a key. So I tell every agent I talk to that is new in the real estate, and everybody in our team can quote this by the time they're on our team within a few weeks, because I tell it to them time and time again. 3 things. First of all, real estate is going to be harder than you think. It's going to be harder than you think. Every veteran in here, or every veteran that hears this, is going to tell you it's harder than what you thought. Okay, number 1. Number 2 is, it's probably going to take longer than you think to be successful in real estate. That's the truth of it. Okay, it's the truth of it. And the third thing is, and here's a good thing, if you do all the things that we train you to do, this business is going to be better than you ever imagined. Better than you ever imagined. 3 things. Everyone can quote this. Harder than you think, take longer than you think, better than you ever imagined. That's a little bit about where we're going with this. Next thing I want to talk about is kind of a formula for success. So I've read a lot of books on business success and real estate books. I love to read. In fact, I read a lot of books in their full version, but I subscribe to an app that allows me just to hear every book what it's about in about 30 or 40 minutes. And then if I like it, then I read the whole book. Not only do I read the whole book, sometimes I'll come back in 2 or 3 years and read it again because it's so good. So I've read a lot of books on business and a lot of books on real estate, okay? But then I've also put together my personal experience. And I've had kind of 3 experiences in real estate. My first experience was selling a lot of real estate. So in our time of real estate, Angie and I sold over 2,500 homes. But then we also had the second part of our career, which was also during the time we were selling, and that's developing companies, developing Regency Real Estate and Escrow, Aviar Real Estate and Escrow, and also Legacy Home Loans, and developing those. And now the third thing that we've been doing for a few years now is team developing. So in looking at all of this, I was able to experience it. I was able to see others that had success as well. And I can tell you, I've been looking to find the formula for success for many years now in real estate. Honestly, the first time I felt like I put my finger on it was in the last 12 months. Because every single formula that I put out there that might be close, the more I tested it, the more I found out that it might have a little flaw to it. But I've got a system I don't think has a flaw to it. I'm going to share that with you today, okay? And this is my feeling about if you can fulfill my acronym here, you'll be successful in real estate. So here's the success. It starts with an acronym, and my acronym is going to be SAMM. S-A-M-M. S-A-M-M. Now the first part of my acronym is skill. Now skill is the only letter in the acronym that's really broken into 2 areas. We're going to have, first of all, we're going to have personal skills, which is very important, and technical skills. Because you can have personal skills, and we all know what that is. That's the ability to relate with people and have people believe and trust you. Okay, that's a personal skill. We're going to talk about that. And then the other was technical skills. We read books, we come to seminars, we do all that we can to get technical skills. Now we need them both, because imagine somebody that has great technical skills, but they're not a good people person, so to speak. They're only going to have limited success. Conversely, somebody that might have all these personal skills, but they don't have the technical success, they're going to have limited success. So if we want to put that together, we need to put that first letter of the acronym, S, together in personal skills and in technical skills. So very, very important. So you marry the 2 of those together, and that's where your success is going to be very good. It's the reason why we implement these trainings to a great deal, is that's for the technical success, and even some of the training is going to be based upon how to generate more personal skills as well. So I still think one of the best books to ever read is Dale Carnegie's book that he wrote probably in, I think it was 1936, don't quote me on that, you can look it up, but it was in the 30s somewhere. It was How to Win Friends and Influence People. A lot of great books on business. No better book written than in 1936 about how to develop those personal skills. So that's on, as far as I'm concerned, on a must read for you. And not only would you read it, I'd read it every 3 or 4 years. It's that good. So first letter is S. Okay, the next one is A. A is for attitude. They always say a bad attitude is like a flat tire. If you don't change it, you'll never go anywhere. And I love that quote because it's very, very true. Now, a lot of people underestimate how important attitude is in real estate. But I would suggest that you sit down with some veterans in the business, if you're a rookie in the business, and talk to people about how well they've done in real estate, some of the veterans, and did their attitude have to do anything about it? And believe me, it does. Attitude is very, very important. It's just as important as all the other letters to this acronym. There's 4 elements to this. This is as important as any one of them. Attitude is absolutely critical. And so if you're going to have a good attitude, I think you need to have a statement of attitude. A statement of attitude is you talking to yourself, because the most important voice that we hear in life is not the voice of others, it's our own voice. The voice of others may get into our ears one time and into us, but then we might repeat it time and time and time again. And by the way, we can't keep voices out of our head, but we have the ability to reject them, or we have the ability to repeat them. So again, our own voice is very, very important. And so we need to develop our voice. When I was in sales, for most of my career, I started my day with 2 things. I started my day with prayer and my statement of attitude. Now, I put together a statement of attitude, and I haven't read it for a while. At one time, I had it almost memorized. I'm going to read it to you. Now, your statement of attitude needs to be your statement of attitude. It needs to talk to you. Okay, my statement of attitude may not talk to you. I doubt it will. But it spoke to me. And here's why every day, this is what I read to myself. My decision to be a realtor for life is absolute, and my future is secure. I won't look back, make excuses, or allow failures along the way to define me. I will combine my God-given talents with passion and hard work. I will not require acclaim, accolades, applause, appreciation, prosperity, position, promotion, or praise to be my motivating forces. I will be quick to listen and slow to anger. James 1:19, by the way. I will not flinch in the face of sacrifice, hesitate in the presence of adversity, or meander in the maze of mediocrity. I will proceed as if I could not fail, for fear is my enemy and faith is my ally. I will get up every day with one career goal in mind: to serve my clients to the best of my ability with all of my energy in a way pleasing to God. This was my statement of attitude. Now, make your own. You need a statement of attitude. Remember I said this is kind of like going into battle? If you're going to go into battle, you need to prepare for battle. And this would prepare me that day for how I need to walk out of my house. Because you know what? My clients deserve the best of me. They deserve for me to be prepared, not just in maybe a listing presentation I have or the properties I'm going to show them, but personally and professionally and emotionally, I need to be prepared for them. So, there's a lot of things that hurt us deeply in this business, and many businesses, no question about it. And we're going to be talking I have an upcoming talk on the emotions, how to handle those, which is a great talk as well. So we'll go deeper into this, but we need to have a way to process, a system to process when we get hurt about something. And we'll talk more about that at another time. So I want to kind of give you an example. If you were in the clubhouse of a professional baseball team right after they lost that game, I can tell you that clubhouse would not be a very good clubhouse. I've never played professional sports, but I have played college football. I know what it was like. Fortunately, I was on a team that we never lost. We were national champions. Therefore, I didn't have to get the feeling of losing, but I know how bad it would have been. We had some half times that we weren't doing very well, and I know how we felt at halftime. So if you go to that locker room, professional locker room of a baseball team, after they lose, it's not going to be a pretty place to be. It's going to be people are disappointed, they're upset, it's probably not a good thing, probably the energy is very, very low, okay, as opposed to going into a clubhouse that they've won the game, they're excited and everything's great. But let me tell you, the next day, if you were to walk in either clubhouse, the winning clubhouse or the losing clubhouse from the night before, guess what? They're exactly the same. So when they are successful, they will celebrate it, but tomorrow they'll reset themselves for success again. And for the team that lost, they will no longer be worrying about that loss. They will be prepared to go out in hopes of winning today. And that stays in line with what I talked about early. Win the day. Just win the day. So attitude is very, very important. You can see I have a passion to talk about that part because I think it is important. And I think it's also one of the most common left off things in a formula of success, whether it's in real estate or any other business. So always remember that you have to have a way to process when you get down to this business. Now, everybody knows one of my favorite all-time sayings. In fact, this saying is so exciting to me, this quote. And it's a quote that was made by somebody else, Mark Twain, but I changed it a little bit. So I give most of the credit to Mark Twain because his original quote is similar to this. I just doctored it up a little bit. But it was so important, I said it so many times, that one of the gals in the team seriously considered having this quote put on her arm. Actually having a tattoo on her arm with all the initials to it to remind her of this. And everyone on our team has heard me say this many, many times when I've talked to agents that are down. And here's the quote. I'm going to show it to you, but I'll read it to you too. So, I've suffered a great many catastrophes in my life, most of which never happened. This is the actual sign that we have. I took it out of my office today to bring it up here to share with you. I suffered a great many catastrophes in my life, most of which never happened. And you know, you have to say that because I got to tell you, when I look back in my life, and I do so in my real estate career specifically, there's a lot of times that I had tough days. I had days where I lost only one escrow, but two escrows. There were days like that. Also many, many good days. But we're talking about the tough days. How do we get through those right now? But I can tell you, I couldn't list all the bad days I had in real estate right now. They're behind me, you know, because we suffered a great many catastrophes. Most of them never happened. And here's what I mean by that. We in our mind oftentimes create a feeling that should equate the feeling if everything went wrong in the worst case scenario times 5. That's what we sometimes do to ourselves. We have to have the ability to be able to process that to be kind of at a reasonable place in our life. So again, I've suffered a great many catastrophes, most of which never happened. Learn how to process, and our talk on the emotional part of real estate will help with that as well. So let's get to the next one. Okay, so far we've got the S and the A, and now we need to finish it with 2 M's. The first M, very simply, motor. So you need a motor. Now the motor is obviously very, very important. If you don't have a motor, then I suggest you fire yourself and go to work for somebody else. So, did you guys hear that? If you don't have a good motor, fire yourself and go to work for somebody else. Because this business rewards a good motor tremendously. But conversely, if you don't have a good motor, it's not going to be a great career for you. So you need to have a good motor. If you struggle with this, then get an accountability partner. Get a coach. Get a mentor. We talked about how important a mentor is. Get somebody to keep you on track. For some of us, it's pretty easy to be very disciplined. Some of us, it's not. I think it was Lou Holtz who said this, success without discipline is absolutely impossible. Success without discipline is absolutely impossible. So we need to have that motor, okay? And here's one of the keys to having a great motor. There has to be a few areas in your real estate life that are what I call non-negotiables. These are things that I will do no matter what, and I cannot negotiate with myself not to do them. Now, depending on where your lead generation comes from, Angie and I were geographic farmers. So we actually farmed our farm 51 weeks a year. Every week, but the year from Christmas and that next week was the only year we did not go to every single door and put something on it. Now, as that geographic farm became very successful for us, then we also became very successful in client farming or social farming. But that was the genesis of a great business, was that farm. But one of our non-negotiables, in the first few years was we must knock 12 times a year and we must hand out 51 times a year. And that was a big motor for that, but we never missed on that. It just was a non-negotiable. So again, you need to have those non-negotiables, and we'll talk about that again. And generally that might be 3 or 4. A lot of people on our team, they do 3 or 4 pop buys a year to their clients where they give them a nice gift and stuff, and it's non-negotiable for these people. This is non-negotiable. Okay, so there's motor. Now let's get to the last one, And the last one's a map, okay? A map without a motor doesn't work. A motor without a map doesn't work. But a motor with a map, with a great attitude, with that skill set, that is the formula. That is the formula for success, and that's what you need. So you wouldn't think of driving to Orange County to New York without a map. However, most real estate agents get in this business with no real map. Maybe a couple of thoughts in their mind, but no real map. So each of you have long-term goals, especially dollar goals, that may be a little bit different, okay? But you need a map and a motor that's going to equalize that goal. Now, some of you, your goal might be to sell, one home a month, and some of you might be to sell one home a week or more. Whatever your goal is, you need to have a map and a motor to match that. So just remember that. They say that your chance of attaining a goal, if it's not written down, is about 5 to 8%. So 5 to 8% of reaching a goal if you don't write it down. However, they say if you write it down, you have about a 40% chance of obtaining your goal. However, there's one more step. If you put specific action steps in each goal and review it at least weekly, your chance of obtaining a goal, 75%. So tell me, do you want to take the 5 to 8% or do you want to up it to 75%? If somebody tells me that my chance of succeeding is only 5 to 8% if I don't have written specific goals, guess what? I will live my life with written specific goals, which I do. Angie and I have always had our goals. We review them every year. I review them every month, by the way. At the end of the month, I review them. Last day of the month, I have it calendared as a reoccurring event to review all my goals. Now, I have them pretty much memorized anyway, but by that time. But I'm thinking about those all the time, okay? And then within those goals, in fact, we're really big on having action goals is the most important thing. We never even had dollar goals in our business. And the reason I didn't is because when I had really great years, and as you're growing, every year seems to, in most cases, you're going to exceed your goal. I didn't want to stop working 6 months through the year if I met my goal. So my goals are action goals. Let the money come, just action goals. Now, you may need to have money goals, that's okay, but focus on action goals, okay? So you can see how important goals, and especially the action goals, are to your success. So now, I'm going to show you a slide here. This next slide is going to talk to you about this is kind of a map to success. Every year in our team, I meet with everybody in my team that wants to, which is almost everybody usually, and we review a map to success. And we start with, when they're new, I help them create, and I'll sit down and help them create that map to success. This is just one that I pulled. I got Think Success on the agent of our team to kind of share this. This is an agent who's only been in the business for less than 3 years, and she's closing over $200,000 a year in gross income in that time. Why? Because she has very specific action goals and she completes them, okay? So here's hers. This was hers from last year. 4 Popeyes, okay, to 50 people. She'll do them in March, May, September, and December. And she makes incredible Popeyes. She takes a Popeye to the house. She knocks on the door. She's very brief with them, just saying, hey, I want to stop by and say hello. I've got something nice for you. If they're not there, she simply takes a picture of it, puts it on the port, and texts them a little message saying, I was there, sorry I missed you, take care. She also does four open houses per month. Now you say 4 isn't that many, but she's pretty busy showing property. So, and then her goal is that this year is to get to 75 Popeyes by the end of the year, and next year she wants 100 clients. And then once she gets that 100 clients, she's going to refine it every year to pare it down to only 100, because she can't service more than 100 people at the high level she does, okay, at the highest level. But every year that list won't get longer after 100, but it'll get stronger every year, okay? Then she does 2 social video posts per month. She established an incredible sizzle video, and then she also created 10 transactional videos. This is a transactional video that every step of a process in the sale, she sends this out to her clients, in addition to all the other contacts she has. This is her map to success. So she memorized, and here's a great thing, memorized all 32 paragraphs of the RPA. That's somebody I challenged everyone on our team to do. And the reason I did that is because that's important. Can you imagine how impressive it is to a client when you sit there and you write an offer with them and you say, listen, I'd like you to go through this contract with you. I can go through this contract and I can read every single word to it if you want, but most people just want me to paraphrase all 32 paragraphs. That only takes a few minutes. Would you prefer I paraphrase it, or would you like to read every word of it? I've never had, in 40 years of business, anyone say, oh, please read every word to me. So they're going to want to paraphrase. That you can do in usually 6 to 10 minutes. But she would go through every part of that RPA, every part. She'd start off with the offer, and then the agency, and then she'd start off with the financing, and she would go all the way down to sale of property, all the way through 1 through 32. Now, I thought this was important on our team for everyone to know this, and so I can do that myself. I did that to them in front of the group, so I proved it to them that I can do it, okay, without even looking at the contract. Just literally, they have the contract. I'll paraphrase it without in front of me. Now, if you want to get referral business and you've got practical skills like that, guess what? They're going to tell a lot of people, and this gal gets told to a lot of clients about how good she is, and this is part of it. Another thing she did was, we talked about the sizzle video, the 10 transactional videos. She memorized all 32s, and she attends at least one training per week. And that can be either the training that we put on, or it can be at the Board of Realtors, or it can be a webinar. And sometimes she might even do more than one, but she averages one training per month. So no matter how busy she is, she wants to continually get better. If you're staying the same every year, you're actually getting worse. You need to continue to get better all the time. There's never a time where you've arrived in this business or very many businesses. So that's her map to success. Now, let's find your ways, finding your path to success. So I believe you need to, there's 5 areas that I think every agent needs to be solid in to start their path to success. These are the ones that when people come on our team, we try to get these things taken care of within the first 30 to 60 days, because these are absolutely imperative. And by the way, we'll be training on all of these, okay? One is they must have a database. Their database must be of all the contacts they have. They must keep copious notes in it. I always talk about these aren't database files, they're FBI files. Every possible thing you can write in there about your client, every single conversation you have, everything is documented. So if a client you don't talk to for a while calls you, you'll be able to pick up on exactly where you're at last time. By the way, as the veterans know, once you're in this business for a while, conversations run into each other. You're not going to remember everything you said to everybody. But imagine how impressive it is when you have a database and somebody calls you and you pick up a conversation from way back when. You'll remember when they sold their house. You'll remember a conversation you had, maybe a market evaluation you gave them, or a simple conversation they had. And whenever you can, memorize their kids' names and also memorize their pets' names, whatever you can do to help you connect with those people. Very important. Next is you need a professional listing presentation. We'll do a training on that, and we'll have that videoed for you. That's a very, very important training, because if you don't have a great listing presentation, you're not going to be competing very well. And by the way, when you do a listing presentation, our average commission is about $16,000. You're not competing for $16,000. You're competing for potentially hundreds of thousands of dollars. Because when you have this listing presentation, you're just not hoping to get their business. You're hoping to get their business for life, and you're also hoping to get all the business of people they can tell you about. So just imagine, and if you had this kind of tree of clients over your years, and they start to grow branches and twigs and things like that, it'd be amazing. Sometimes one client might be good for 50 transactions by the time all the people branches out. So that's what a listing presentation you're competing for. If you not got that listing, that might be, you may have lost 50 transactions, not one. So also a buyer presentation. Buyer presentation is very, very important. Just as important as a listing presentation, not as common. Most agents don't have those, but they're important. Again, we train on that. A prospecting plan. We call it a path to success, but you need to have a prospecting plan. And the last thing is you need to be gaining knowledge forever and ever and ever. Gaining knowledge forever and ever and ever. Like we said, don't stop. So let's assess what your SAM is. Remember, our acronym is SAM, okay? So it really had SAMM, but the first one had 2 areas in there. They had personal skills, as well as practical skills. So why don't you rate yourself on a scale of 1 to 10 in all those areas, okay? Your personal skills, your practical skills, your attitude, your map, and your motor. Give yourself an honest grade. Maybe perhaps if you have a mentor or a coach or an accountability partner, you kind of bounce this off of them as well. And then you got 50 possible points there, okay? if you're getting 40, you're probably successful or will be successful. If you're 45, you're probably well on your way to success. 50 is probably unattainable, but that's always the goal. But if you're getting a much, much lower number than 40, you're probably going to have limited success. No question about it. So again, try to get as close to 50 as we can. So I want to talk to a little theory here, and it's called, working on the business, just not in the business. Now, maybe you've heard this before, maybe you haven't, but let me explain it to you for those who haven't heard it. Most agents are really good about working in the business, and that, would be things like having an open house, showing property, listing presentation, attending maybe a referral group meeting. All of that is working in the business, and that's important. By the way, that's where the ultimate money comes from. But the preparation for all of those is really done when we work on the business. And so here's an example of working on the business, and this is why this is very important too. So we need to, first of all, like meeting with a mentor, okay, or attending training, writing down our goals, creating marketing pieces, maybe you attend a Buffini conference, your statement of attitude. All of those are working on the business, and we need to mix those together so that we work not only in the business, but on the business. Now I'm going to close here with coming to the close here with a few final thoughts. Okay, just kind of a hodgepodge of things I want to throw in here to, kind of the cornerstones, not the foundation, but the cornerstones of what I want to talk about. So understanding, like I said earlier, you're either getting better or worse, you're not staying the same. No such thing. Be really strong at time management and organization, something else we train on, that you need to be a good manager of your time. If you can expand your day through time, then that allows you to be more successful and also enjoy life a little bit more along the way. Organization, very, very important. Great thing about organization, you can organize when you have time to do it, and then it saves you time when you don't have much time. That's the great thing about organization. And explain how to budget. You've really got to learn how to budget, because if you don't know how to budget, then you're not going to have a lot of money left at the end of the month. And so that's very, very important too. And here's something that's just how I feel, and that is that, real estate was never, what I did. Real estate was who I am. It was part of who I am. It's the reason why not only did our friends, but our servers and we'd pick up clients of all different places. Angie and I took a tour a few months ago with our family down to Laguna Beach, and when we did, we met somebody on the tour, and guess what? That person ended up becoming a client that we referred to somebody on the team, and they are now closed escrow. They are now a happy homeowner. It's everywhere we go, real estate was what we did. Now, that doesn't mean that with my friends, all I did was talk real estate, but a piece of me never left the business. I was always in real estate. The other thing is start using people's names. I have a file on my phone, just one of my lists. I have a great list there in my Evernote, and it basically has people's names. I write down people's names, okay? I write down people's names so that every time I can, they will use it. My son Corey, several years ago after he got his MBA, he used to teach a class in business communications down at Point Loma in their master's program. And he gave extra credit. They actually had this class in a small building because it was just a small group of people as a master's program. He might have 5 or 10, 15 people in a class. And one of his questions he had for extra credit, his final question was, what was the janitor's name of the building? Okay, it's that important. You need to know people's name. They like to hear it. They like to hear their name. Tell you a quick story. I won't use the name because the person will probably hear this seminar, but it was not long ago where a person that I used her name twice in a conversation, a group of people, sent me a little email and said I'd had such a tough day, and just hearing my name in a positive way 2 times within a period of a few seconds meant so much to me you'll never know. We never know where people are at, but it's the idea that using their names is important. As our kids were growing up, we used to have a little question we asked, and my kids could tell you all about this, that we went in someplace, whether it was a restaurant or a store or wherever it was at, when we would come out, I would often ask them this one question: was this a better place because you were there? And one way we can make it a better place is to be friendly and use people's names. So learn people's names. So Other little things, get your GRI, your Graduate Realtor Institute. It's a great thing to have, and it's one more thing that you can put on your credentials. It's one more thing that you talk about that interview, a listing, or buyer presentation. Get your brokers. I think it's always great, whether you ever decide to become a broker or not. Get your notary, things like that. These are all higher levels of education, and they will serve you well time and time again. And then at some point, you may consider incorporating if you haven't already. There's pros and cons to that, so I wouldn't take that lightly. That's an accounting question, but it's one of the things you may have at least on your list to discuss. So now I want to kind of end with, kind of talk to you about real estate and relationships. Relationships, there's a lot of ways to sell real estate, but I really think the best way is always about creating relationships. It's a relationship business. And like judo, I use the judo up here because real estate is a contact sport. It truly is a contact sport. And it's done best nose to nose and belly to belly. I truly believe that. So it's amazing how so many agents at the close of escrow, they give their client a gift. Now some don't, but most will give their client a gift and they say thank you for the business. And that's where they stop it at. But what you always need to do, and what Angie and I always did, is we of course thank them for the business, very, very important. We also give them a gift, and usually a fairly nice one, okay? And then we always said one thing, and that is, this is one of your biggest investments, potentially your biggest investment ever. We are your housing counselors. Please understand that we're here for you now and forever. Whether it ever requires or whether it ever allows us to have another commission, that has nothing to do with it. We are your investment counselors, and we want to be here for you in every way we can. Now, we will certainly be in touch with you, but we'd also like it if you would be in touch with us, and we take it as an honor. Every time you can call upon us and ask us something that you need as far as advice or help about your house, we would feel honored to help you with that. And very few people do that. But can you imagine having an investment counselor that would take your money and invest it, and he's going to say, once you've bought this stock or you've done this investment, well, see, I'll never probably see you again, here's a little gift. No, they say, I'm here for you. They send you out advice. They talk to you with advice. But very few realtors do that. We're just not here to sell homes. We represent, in many cases, their biggest investment, and we need to treat it that way. So, now, I just want to, close by saying, I hope that everybody here has got something out of this. I hope you guys will look at this and assess your SAM, okay? Obviously it's very, very important. Your skills, your attitude, your motor, and your map, and kind of look at where you're at. And most of you, you'll probably be in a pretty good place on some of those, but you'll probably have some weaknesses or what we call areas of growth in the others. I would challenge you, stay strong in the areas that you're good at, okay? And then try to improve on those areas of growth. And thank you for your time.